Hey, what's going on, buddy? It's Rejosh. So there have been a few changes made to Halo 5 with the new content release called Overtime, and this mostly focuses on the weapon changes to some of the basic core weapons of Halo 5. They tried to get some feedback from the weapon playtest that they implemented not too long ago, and they got people's opinions on the forums and whatnot, and they looked at all the data and they changed a few of the weapons. And we're going to go through some of those weapons with a side-by-side comparison of the old way to the new way, and we'll discuss a few of the ways that they've been changed. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail because I really don't know, all the specifics to it. And this is not down to science for me. I try to get the weapons to be at the same time. It's really hard, especially with my editing software, because it kind of froze sometimes whenever the weapons went off. I don't know, it's kind of weird. But just so you guys know, it's not perfect, but I tried my best. There's a lot of editing. There's a lot of stuff going on. So hopefully it's not too bad for you guys. But let's get on to the first weapon. The first weapon we're going to look at is the basic assault rifle. So they made a few changes to this weapon. One of those is being that they increased the rate of fire by just a little bit. The headshot damage was increased a little bit, but the base damage per bullet was decreased, and also the magnetism range was decreased. So whenever you hover over somebody, it's not as sticky as it was when you went over an enemy player. You kind of have to use a little more skill, a little more of your own control to aim at the enemy player. So you have to be a little more skillful. You get rewarded if you go for those headshots and whatnot. And you can definitely tell by the side-by-side comparison that the reticule is a lot different. The new one has a lot smaller one. The old one has a wider one, so it gives you an easier chance of hitting the target, whereas the new one, you have to use more of your skill to hit them. And you can see the bullet pattern on the wall. It's really not that much different. The new one kind of has it almost looks like a tighter one, but maybe that's just because it's smaller. It's really not that much different though. Not really easy to tell based off side by side by shooting them. Next up, we have the classic battle rifle. So what they really wanted to focus on with this weapon was trying to make it more of a burst kind of weapon like it was traditionally in the previous Halos. They wanted to make it less effective at longer range, and they did this by loosening the grouping of the bullets than the original. So it's not as effective. Also, I believe the reticule range was decreased, so it's not as effective from long range as it was in the old one, because you could just pretty much kill anybody from really long range with the old one. So it was pretty dang effective, but now this gives you a better chance at long range, and it kind of gives the DMR more of the classic DMR role that it should play. But other than that, there's really not a lot of changes. The damage values stayed the same. You can definitely tell when shooting it that it is more of a burst kind of weapon. You can hear it. So they definitely did change that and achieve that. So I'm curious to know how this weapon will play. I have not been able to get to in battle yet, but hopefully it feels more like the classic battle rifle. Next, we have the Carbine Rifle, and with this weapon, they really didn't change a whole lot to it. It's pretty similar to what they did with the battle rifle. They just reduced the reticule range, and the tightness and the grouping of the shots is also reduced, so it's not as effective at long range. So it's pretty much just like the battle rifle. You can kind of see that when shooting here. So it's really not, you can't really tell a whole lot when you're firing it. Maybe in a battle you would be able to, because it's not as effective. But it's pretty much just like the battle rifle, like I said. So you're not going to be able to use this at long range, be able to pick off people like you used to be able to, as well as you used to be able to. So that's going to make it interesting. And again, it gives the DMR its more classic DMR long range kind of role too. So that's pretty much it for the Carbine. You can see though with the shots on the wall, it is a little more spread out than the old one. So that definitely changes it. Doesn't make it as accurate. So it's going to be a little harder to be more accurate with this weapon and more effective. And then next we have the DMR. This is probably my favorite weapon in Halo. I really like this thing because you can just do work at a long range. It's nice. It's kind of like a sniper, so I really like it. But the changes they made to this one is it's a little more effective at long range. So they increased the effective range of the reticule aim assist. So that's a little bit better. Also, the magnetism from long range has been increased. But also at a shorter distance, the magnetism has been decreased. So this is not going to be as effective as short range as it used to be. The rate of fire was also decreased by a little bit. So you're not going to be able to get as fast as shots off in close quarter combat situations. So you're not going to be able to be as effective short range, but long range you will definitely be more effective, which is obviously the main role of this weapon. And so that is good. I think that's what this thing is supposed to do, obviously. So I think those are some pretty good changes that they made to this, because you're not really supposed to do well with the long-range weapon up close. So hopefully this is going to be a really, really solid weapon now, even more than it was. Next up, we have the fuel rod cannon, and there weren't a whole lot of changes made to this weapon. But the few changes that they made was they reduced the projectile's velocity by a little bit, so it's not as explosive, not as powerful. So it gives the enemy player a little bit more of a chance to stay alive. And also they wanted to make this weapon a little bit more like the rocket launcher, where you shoot it, it's a little bit slower, and also you have to aim a little bit better with your shots to kind of predict where the enemy player is going. You can kind of see that it's a little bit slower when they shoot side by side right here. It's a little hard to tell, but I think you can notice the little difference. So you just have to be a little more accurate with your shots to make it more effective now. Next up, we have the Gunfighter Magnum, which is a weapon that I hardly ever use because there really was no use for it when you have the BR and the regular pistol. It just didn't really play a good role, but now that might change because they made a few changes. They made it a little more, I guess, snappier, where it's a little faster to get out and to zoom. You can just, after you shoot somebody with the BR, you can pull it out really quick and finish them off. They also increased the ammo capacity for this, so I think it was 12, but now it's at 18. So you can actually get like 3 kills if you wanted to really fast, if all goes well. So that's going to make it a little bit better. The base damage of it was increased as well. And so this should be a little more effective at a closer range. You can also see whenever you fire them from the wall to wall that the new one is definitely a lot more wild with its bullets, the recoil and everything. So that's going to make it a little bit less effective long range, but should be pretty effective close range and give it more of a role than what it had before. Next up, we have the grenade launcher. There are a few changes made to this. I tried to get these at the same time. It's kind of off on this one. I forgot how I shot it. So hopefully you guys can see it here in this one. But anyways, the changes they made to this one was it's a little more bouncier now with the grenade being shot. So you can bank it off of walls and make it a little more predictable. So that's going to make it interesting. Plus, it's a little bit slower. It's kind of more of like an arc than a streamlined shot. So the new one will take longer to go across the map than the old one. So you're going to have to time your shots even better now. And the projectiles are a little bit more consistent. They're kind of more tighter. So that helps it make it more predictable as well. So that's going to make it interesting. I thought this weapon was pretty good as it was. So we're going to see how this works. I don't know, maybe the slowness of the arc will make it harder to use. We'll see. But hopefully it's still a really good weapon, because this is a fun weapon to use. Next, we have the Railgun, and this is just for the basic Railgun. But this weapon is pretty effective as the old version. You could definitely kill people before they were able to pick you off. Hopefully that changed things a little bit, made it a little more even. And the change that they made was the charge time was increased. So now you kind of have to hold it a little bit longer to get that shot off. And also you can hold the charge longer than the old one. So you can definitely see this when you do the side-by-side comparison. I tried to do it at the same time. I think it's pretty good on this one, on the first shot anyway. You can definitely see that you can hold it a little bit longer and it takes longer to shoot. And this gives you a little bit more of a, I guess, chance to line up your shot to the enemy player and take them out whenever you feel like releasing that trigger. So that will help in that regard. But this will probably make it less effective at a close quarter combat scenario, and will give the enemy player a little bit more of a chance to pick you off with like a BR or something. Next, we have the SMG, and this weapon is definitely pretty effective with the old version from a short range and from a long range. They made a few changes that will hopefully change that. So what the change was they made it a little bit less accurate. They also reduced the red reticle range, so it's not going to be as effective at a longer range. And also, the bullet damage was decreased. So hopefully it feels more like an SMG, where it's not nearly as powerful at a longer range, and it's more powerful at the close range, like it should be as an SMG. I mean, sometimes it's just ridiculous how you can get picked off by an SMG from a long range. So we'll see how that works out with these changed settings. And you can't really tell the difference with the wall. They're both kind of, I guess, the same kind of pattern. The bullet pattern, but you could see that when they were shot side by side, that the reticule, the inner reticule, would go out, so it would make it less accurate than the old one. So you can definitely see that it is definitely less accurate in that regard. So hopefully these will make it more of an SMG. Next, we have the Frag Grenade, which they made changes to, or at least a little bit of a change. I tried to show you guys here. It's really hard to do, though. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but what they did was they reduced the blast radius by about 25%. So you're not gonna be able to, you know, just trap people as well with the grenades. Now they'll have a better chance of getting away because that damage has been reduced. They also made changes to the Splinter Grenade. So the initial blast for the Splinter Grenade is not as powerful as it used to be, but the remaining clusters that stay up there for a little bit are more powerful. So it's used now to kind of trap people and make them not go the way that the grenade has been thrown. Because if you go through those clusters now, you're definitely going to die. Whereas before you could go through them, yeah, you would get hurt, but you could survive. So now it's a little more effective with those clusters that you absolutely don't want to go through, otherwise you will die. And then we have the active camo that they changed a little bit too. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this. I tried to give you guys a representation of the changes. It's kind of hard to do, but you can kind of see it. So the old one, when you walked, you could still be seen. The enemy could see you. They could see your name. And you can also see that with the assault rifle, you can see the numbers, like the number 36 with the ammo. You can see their arm, the Spartan's arm a little bit. But with the new one, you can't see anything at all. It looks like you have the active camo on, and it's you're not giving away your position at all. The only time you give away your position still is if you shoot your weapon, or if you start running, then you will be seen. But now, when you just walk with the camo without sprinting or anything, you have a harder time of being seen because your weapon and your Spartan and everything is going to be totally in camouflage. So those are some of the changes they made to the weapons. I have not had a chance to use any of these in a battle yet, so I'm really curious to know how these will work, especially with the BR. I really want to try to give that a go. They made a few more changes, like the beam rifle, and also they did a sword with a relic sword. So it's a little faster. You can swing it pretty easily now, and you're not as slow with it. The beam rifle, I think it's better, or it's harder to no scope or something like that. I'm really not sure on the details of those, but I didn't really care to show those. Just want to show you guys these ones because I was interested in them. But that is it for me. I just want to show those to you guys. Like I said, I'm really curious to see how these will play. Hopefully it will be good. Hopefully it'll make Halo 5 even better, and it's a nice refresher. We'll see how it plays out, but I'm excited to try them. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I had a lot of fun making it. It's a different kind of video. It took a lot of time, but it was worth it. It was worth it. It's fun showing the differences. But thank you guys so much for watching the video. Hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did enjoy it, please give a thumbs up. That'd be great. If you're new, subscribe. That'd be better. And I'll see you guys next video. See ya.